Okay, so many, you were raised in Orthodox Zionist household, and yeah, after the war, many people tell about their experiences of how they identify themselves as Jew changed. Do you think that um, your perspective on being Jewish changed?
It's been strengthened. Uh, I um, I did grow up Orthodox. Simply, there was no other way of being Jewish. I mean, there was no. There was a Reform seminary, and my husband attended it. It's actually a picture of him wearing one of the uniforms there. That Paul. This is also. But I was very fortunate to grow up with a very strong Jewish identity. Um, and that served both of us, my husband and I, very well in camp also, because humiliation was a major effort that they made with everything they did to our bodies and minds to humiliate.
So you talk about the powerful bond between your mother and yourself being an important part of your survival. Experiencing, like an extreme situation together tends to bond people. How did your relationship with your mother change after the Holocaust?
Now, this is a very interesting question. I haven't thought. You see, we switched roles. I could take better care of her physically, for sure. She took care when it came to what was happening. I did not know. She understood that we were in an extermination camp right at the time we arrived. As you, from the stories you know, we had to go back to Auschwitz because of the war. And I still did not know it was an extermination camp, but my mother did. And she acted accordingly. She found this little red scarf to put on her head the second time we came into Auschwitz, because by then she looked horrible, skin and bones. So she knew what Auschwitz was, but I did not. But she was 46, 47, and I was 17, 18, so it was easier for me. I was more able to take care of her physically. That had to change because she didn't need me to take care of her physically. Also, very soon after we came back, we got back, we walked back. It was 45, maybe July, maybe August. Frankly, I don't remember. It was summer, but getting out the end of the summer, that's all I know. And then my future husband was already there, and he was determined that we should leave Hungary because it will become communist. It was under Russians at the time. And my mother, on the other hand, they had no idea where we will be going, and she didn't want to depend on us. And if you take that big picture now, Sabrina, you see that big picture? It's an important picture because my mother, many people envied us in camp. They said, oh, a mother and a daughter together.
Mm-hmm.
And I had two brothers. I will show pictures of them too to you. She lost, neither of my brothers came back, and my father was killed for, I don't know how to say that in the book, in the gas chamber. He died there with everybody else. So what this picture is, that my mother did get a job in an orphanage, which was her dream. And now she will be called Ima, what the word Ima?
Mother in Hebrew.
Mother in Hebrew. And these were children who survived in Budapest. Most of them, the parents gave them to Gentile families when they were deported. So the children survived, and they, as you can imagine, Budapest was under siege for a very long time. It was a terrible battle between Pest and Buda, but you don't need the details of that. So the children were lice, scabies, malnutrition, and you see them here looking pretty good
Yeah.
with little white, because we didn't have enough couldn't buy new clothes for them, so mother had these pinafores made for them so that they looked all very bright. And I lived in this hotel, in this villa too. It was near Budapest, and they used to clean their hair from the lice or put them. I mean, these are young children who lost both parents in the war. And my mother, on the other hand, lost 2 sons.
Okay, so Anna, the chapter about the tattoo really caught my attention. You write in page 87 and 88, you quote, "We were proud of our tattoos, which gave us some sort of identity. We considered them to be passports to life," and unquote. And while reading, coming from a very traditional Jewish family that doesn't allow any like tattoos after the war, and especially after also reading Primo Levi, that associates the tattoo with like a loss of identity. They literally, most people say they just become numbers. And why do you think the opposite?
Oh, this is such a wonderful question. Now, because you come from a different place when you look at a tattoo than those of us who were there. Those of us who were there had zero identity. Those of you who are here, you know, I'm Rachel B. and you do that to me, you make me into an animal. It's horrible. And when you are a nobody, and they give you something by which you can be recognized, nobody else has this number. Now, I'm a number. It is more than a nothing. I think you should now. I have friends in Boston. I lived in Cincinnati at the time. And I wrote this story, but I never thought my stories would be of interest to anybody. Just, I thought my children should know. I had zero idea that there will be people who would want to hear these stories. These are terrible stories. Why would you bother? I mean, I really did not realize that there will be people interested in that. So, but I had very good friends, and I came to visit, and I still remember a tiny living room. They're all sitting around, and I said, look, I wrote this story, and would you listen? I wanted to share. They had a son named Carl. He was, I would say, maybe 17, 18 at the time, still in high school, and he was very angry with me. How can you be pleased and happy for getting a number? You were branded, they made you. He looked from his place. Okay, so I liked the letter very much, and I have his letter, I saved it, and I have my answer to him. I have both. So Carl writes his angry letter to me. Not only did he say it, but he also wrote to me and how horrible it is. I said, it's wonderful because you are a proud Jew. He went to a Jewish daycare. They're Orthodox, they are very observant, and and from where you are, this is a perfectly expected response. Now I'm asking you to come into my place. I have not a piece on my body that belongs to me, not even my own hair. I am nobody. I have no number, I have zero identity. When they gave this to us, because I was 17 and they want us to survive. This was like passport to life. Now they want to recognize who there will be a number, there will be an accounting of our existence. Yes?
100%.
This teaches you empathy. This tells you don't think that you can judge another person from your perspective. You have to go where they are historically in terms of their social standing, finances, whatever makes a person. But it was difficult for a proud Jew to think that being branded like a cow, which is the expression that he used, could make you proud. He felt embarrassed by my reaction. And I said, hooray for you. Isn't that great that you can feel that? In that place, that is not how you could feel. Oh, they are branding me. Oh my God, now I am a number at least. You getting it?
I get it. I'm understanding, and that's
Good.
what I wanted to.
Sabrina, did you get it?
Yeah, I understand. I really like that.
This is like the most interesting question I've ever asked someone in my entire life. And honestly, it was always like when I was reading it, it was a matter to me of like understanding. And then when I had like when Dawn told me I would have the opportunity to interview you, that was the first thing that came into my mind. I was like, I want to know her because like I'm also studying sociology. I have to look at it, like you said, other people's perspectives in order to understand, because just mine is not valid to form my opinion.
But people do it all the time.
Yeah.
They think they are the norm.
Yeah.
And if you deviate, something wrong with you.
A deviant?
How come you don't think the way I do?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I had a different mom, I had a different dad, I
A different upbringing.
all kinds of historical, social changes that have shaped me, and shaped you. Anyway, you asked me a question, I got off a little bit. Can you repeat the original question?
Well, I was wondering, like, your experiences and how it affected, like, your desire to
My
help people.
children affected me very much. I am now giving this Crystal Nut is totally political, and I'm preparing a fairly thorough paper on this question, morality, ideology, very big questions as to how we are affected by political issues and how we are shaped by them. Yes, I think. But that has to do also with my background. They are very curious people. We read a lot, we write, we communicate. That's why, when you ask me not talking, that's not me. I always have to talk, whatever has been going on. So it is not just the Holocaust. The Holocaust made it more imperative that we speak out against injustice. I'm learning a great deal about the black and white issues that I did not know enough about for many years, because I am in a very fortunate situation now that my husband and I retired in 2000, and I'm still alive, and now I have the time to read more and to learn more. So I just enrolled with another group of people to learn more about psychoanalysis and political theory, to learn more, social sciences, not only individual, like psychoanalysts and psychiatrists are mainly interested in the individual. But when you study large groups, especially ideologically motivated groups, you really have to go beyond psychoanalysis.
It was after the war how the way you identified as a Jew changed.
As I say, I met many people. Actually, a woman just before you came called me that she's bringing her children, because this afternoon I go to a temple, Shir Tikva. I meet with the younger children before dinner. They give me some pizza, and then I meet with the high school kids. But she will be there with her children, and she was not told by her family that they are Jewish. There were many people who denied it because they wanted to protect their children. That was not true for us, but that had to do with our upbringing. That So the important things about the trauma of the Holocaust is that everybody went in there with a already fairly well set psychology, we were already. Children did not survive. You had to be someplace that you knew that there was a childhood. And that childhood, we psychoanalysts think, is crucial. And people speak about us, survivors, as if we were born there. The literature about survival, psychiatric, psychoanalytic, should be burned. And I'm not for book burning, but I would burn them if I could. They're horrible. We all sick. We are all sick, incurable. And it is all because of this external perspective. Because they have a norm, and they are the norm.
They're not willing to understand the other people.
No, think about my correspondence and conversation with the boy named Koal.
Yeah.
All right? Next question.
So there are many psychoanalysts, including Leo and Rebecca Greenberg, that say survivors are empty shells, and
say hello to them and pour some good stuff into those empty shells.
Yeah, what I said is you counter this misconception with how was it that so many of us were able to thrive, and I was wondering what your strengths and motivations for thriving were.
You had a childhood. Hitler was not my grandfather. I have books written by the grandchildren of these people who had murderers. They are ashamed. They don't want people to know they are German. I had written many a foreword to wonderful Germans who say, this is our crime, that we are still not admitting what we had done. And more than the rest of the world. The Germans are still doing better than many others. But our own Jewish colleagues had done us terrible disservice. I had run a group of children of survivors at the Hillel House in Cincinnati, where we live. At the end, I told them not ever to tell a psychiatrist that their parents were survivors. Because from then on, everything that was their problem was because of the parents were survivors. So how did we really come back with the smell of death? I love my children to make me think, as they do, that I had done no good by having them. I had listened to famous psychoanalysts who did not know I was in the audience, telling the audience that one thing survivors should not have had was not to have children. Because look, they couldn't parent, they didn't grieve, they didn't, yeah. And I went up to him, I had 3 children. I said, did I hear you right? He says, yes. I said, I have 3 of them at home. And I think I am capable of loving them, or maybe loving them a little more than they should be loved. It was horrible. Yeah. This is what I call the 81st blow. You know, when a young Jewish boy, and it's a true story, and the beautiful YouTube was made of it many years ago. He was arrested because he was a Jew, somewhere in Warsaw Lodge, who knows. They beat him up, and then they didn't get whatever they wanted from him, they let him go. Goes home and I said, what happened to me? They picked me up on the street and they beat me up. Nobody believed him. He wrote that little story, the 81st blow, because he got 80 from the Germans or the Poles, and the 81st one was from the people who didn't believe what happened to him. And now we have this literature. Who are these people? Greenbergs? I never heard of them.
Yeah, that's a clear, like you said, that's a clear.
Now you come, this is empty shells. Why? I was 17, and most of the people who survived had to be if they were in a camp. Children did not survive. And even those, and I wrote about them too, made it beautifully because they went back and studied Judaism and they knew they were Jews, and there was a heritage that gave them the stuffing rather than to feel the emptiness.
The feel.
I cannot tell you how angry it makes me.
Yeah, it made us very angry too. That's why we wanted to ask you because this
Tell
is
me the name again.
It's Leo and Rebecca Granberg.
Who are they?
They were psychoanalysis in, like, I think this was in 1990, and it was from one of their books, and they were saying that survivors of like a massacre, like the Holocaust or like Hiroshima, are become so disturbed in their mental state that they're like people from another planet.
But I had given so many talks. One of them I titled from victim to survivor. A survivor is one who made it. Yeah, the word. Survivor.
exactly. No, we just wanted to ask you because that was reading this.
No, I'm glad you did.
Reading.
So I could vent my rage.
Moving on to like the final questions. About like you said about your involvement with like now current actions and especially political environments and actions. Why all these conflicts happening in the world now? Refugee crisis, terrorist attacks, racial conflicts in America, and do you think there's still hope for humanity to learn? And are we free from this possibility of
It doesn't go that way, man. I hate to tell it to young, beautiful people. I don't know, but it's so discouraging. And it has to do with the environment to begin with. We have these terrible crises, and they will get worse because we are making more and more places unlivable. Deserts cannot grow. And we hope that technology will change that, you think of Israel, that I'm a chauvinist when it comes to that in terms of being a Jew, because they went to a desert and they discovered the drip technique, the drip technique?
Yeah.
How they grew the tomatoes with the drip. Yeah. And Israel is still first pioneers in all kinds of things, technology, and so technology could do a lot, but the human psyche is we have and this is the paper I'm giving this Sunday has to do with that.
It's happening right now.
No, I think many that eventually when your survival because of you have no water, you have no food, then you have to find some to get rid of some other people. Why did, for example, genocides increase since the Holocaust? We had more genocides after the Holocaust, didn't we? Rwanda?
Yes.
Bosnia?
The army.
Down in with the sea, that
Syria.
was the worst. Yeah, Syria is not a genocide exactly. Well,
We had also the Armenian.
I meant. Never mind. My mind. There is a Holocaust scholar, a historian at Yale. His name is Timothy Snyder. He had a book last year, The Black Earth, I think he called it. You would not think that Hitler had that in mind. That as if Hitler would say, look, it's a Darwinian notion. The fittest will make it. Let's get rid of those subhumans and not as bright as we are and not as beautiful and tall and strong like the German race. That would be the idea. That he already acted on this notion of limited space in the world. You have population increase. I mean, the Chinese got pretty scared of that. They reduced the number of babies they could have, and good reason. They didn't count, and now the Chinese are the best when it comes to worrying about the environment. They put two and two together, not like our crazy president. I cannot say it more than 3 times. I could say it all day, except he's not altogether crazy, but he's terribly dangerous. So with this environmental thing, then you limit the resources, and people will turn against each other because they're hungry and they want space. And I don't know, because there is not enough actually written about it. I don't understand what's happening in Myanmar. That's genocide. Again, the Briang, what are they called, these people in Myanmar? Brianga, some strange name. I don't know the local reason. But if you look locally, there is something going on locally. Probably not very significant. But the larger issue, I think, in terms of the world, the way I see it, has to do with the environment, that we spoiled the ground on which we live. We poisoned it, then we made it not good for our children and grandchildren. For your sake, we have to do something. So Obama said, God, we are in the last hour of this. We have to do everything possible to curb this.
Is there anything we haven't asked you that you think is important for us or other Brandeis students to know about?
There is so much to learn.
Yeah.
So much to... Actually, the literature on the Holocaust, if you don't read the psychoanalyst, I don't recommend them. But history and social sciences, huge. It's probably the best research area in the world among historical events. Because the Jews don't leave any stone onto when it comes to questions. Lama, why, warum, why? Constantly. That comes from the many years of Torah studies, you know. Mm-hmm. That brain
Jews
got into the DNA eventually,
yeah.
Your mode of thinking. So yeah, there are many. And students like you asking intelligent questions, well prepared.
Well, thank you.
I enjoy. I really enjoy.
He means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, it's really an honor.